بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So last time we had spent time talking about when an individual is supposed to make wudu, and we had come to the conclusion that when do I have to make wudu? For prayer. So am I obligated if Maghrib time is in 10 minutes, am I obligated to make wudu right now? If Maghrib time hasn't started yet. Until Maghrib. Let's assume. Okay, I'm okay. When am I obligated to make wudu? Right, as soon as the adhan comes in, right, as soon as I hear the adhan, the Maghrib time has started. At this point, my obligation starts. Am I obligated to make it as soon as the adhan is made? No, wudu. There's grace, right? Yeah, so I hear the adhan. Allahu Akbar, right? I hear it. Now, do I have to go run and make wudu? No, I don't. Okay. At what point does it now, no, I can't wait anymore.
When the time about to run out.
All right, so when the time for the prayer is actually about to run out, right? That's the end of that time. We had talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave us windows to pray. So whether I choose to pray toward the beginning of that window or toward the middle or even toward the end, as long as the end of the prayer isn't very close, I'm allowed to pray in this entire time. And why is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is catering to us and giving us time, and He's giving us these windows. Some people have to work, some people get busy with other things. Sometimes, I might be in the middle of cooking, I might be in the middle of surgery. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened up and He's created these windows for us to facilitate for us the prayer. When we had said that, how do I determine the early time? The early time is, or for some of the madhahib, they call it waqt al-ikhtiyari, like where you still have a lot of room. That is going to be a time where I can pray comfortably without worrying about the next prayer starting. I think, what else did we talk about? I think that's it. And we had talked about the prayer times, when should an individual pray.
Wait, the last time I like 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
We talked about when you can touch the Quran.
We also talked about what the things that you needed to have wudu for. And we talked about the difference between the ha'id and the junub, right? So a woman who is on her cycle and a woman who is abti, or a woman who has, a woman who's on her cycle, or we talked about sexual impurity as well, and the differences between them. And I think that's okay. Yes. Right. And we use the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he was brought some food and they asked him if he wanted to make wudu, and he said, well, why am I praying, right? Or he responded like, I'm not intending to pray, so I do not need to make wudu, meaning that an individual doesn't need to have wudu in order to eat, drink, or other activities outside of the salah. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى قال حدثنا يحيى بن يحيى قال أخبرنا حماد بن زيد قال يحيى أيضا أخبرنا هشيم كلاهما عن عبد العزيز بن صهيب عن أنس في حديث حماد كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دخل الخلاء، وفي حديث هشيم أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا دخل الكنيف قال اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الخبث والخبائث. I think we took this hadith, right? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every time he went to the khala is, we had said that there are two types of bathrooms that historically they had, right? So basically they had like these public garbage dumps where everybody would know and they would go to relieve themselves, and they had the covered latrines. So these are the two different types of places that individuals would go to relieve himself. So the Prophet ﷺ, anytime he went to the khala, or every time he went out to the space to relieve himself, and in Hushaym's hadith, أن رسول الله كان إذا دخل الكنيف, that anytime he went into a latrine, or anytime he went into a covered bathroom, قال, that he would say, Allahumma, O Allah, inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khaba'ith, that I seek refuge from you from the khubth and the khaba'ith. And there are different meanings for this. I don't think we got into the meanings behind these. Right? I mentioned them, right? Okay.
The badness of bathrooms.
Yes. Yeah. The waswasa. Yes. Yes. Okay. So we did finish that. All right. Alhamdulillah, that's good. So, oh wow, we're only 4 hadith until the end of the kitab. قال حدثني زهير بن حرب قال حدثنا إسماعيل بن عليا حاوى تحويل الإسناد وحدثنا شيبة ابن فروخ قال حدثنا عبد الوارث كلاهما عن عبد العزيز عن أنس قال أقيمت الصلاة والرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم نجي لرجل وفي حديث عبد الوارث ونبي الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يناجي الرجل فما قام إلى الصلاة حتى نام القوم. So over here you have a hadith of Anas radiallahu an that saying that the iqama for the salah was made and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was talking to one person, like he was talking to him privately. And then there's in another narration, and the Prophet of Allah was talking privately to a man, and they didn't start the prayer until people started falling asleep. So, yeah, go ahead.
Did you say the title of the bab?
No, I usually don't.
Oh, to leave it as a surprise for us?
No,
Because there's the context.
I'm just reading Imam Muslim. I'm reading Sahih Muslim. I'm not reading the explanation. Would you like me to include the tabweeb?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So Imam Nawawi, he puts the chapter heading الدليل على أن النوم الجالس لا ينقض الوضوء. So over here, part of it is doing a little bit of, it's surprising as well. So Imam Nawawi, he titles these series of a hadith, the proof that if an individual sleeps sitting up, then this does not break his wudu. قال حدثنا عبيد The proof that if an individual sleeps while sitting, this does not break his wudu. قال حدثنا عبيد الله بن معاذ العنبري قال حدثنا أبي قال حدثنا شعبة عن عبد العزيز ابن صهيب سمع أنس بن مالك قال أقيمت الصلاة والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يناجي رجلا فلم يزل يناجيه حتى نام أصحابه ثم جاء فصلى بهم. So over here, very similar hadith where Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, he says that the salah, the iqama for the salah was called, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was talking in private to a man, and he continued speaking to him until it went so long that the people actually started falling asleep. Then he came and he prayed and he led them in prayer. Yeah.
So you said while you're sitting up, you wouldn't have with it. So what does that mean for you?
We'll talk about it, inshallah. Yeah. I just wanted to finish reading all of the hadith, relevant hadith, inshallah, and then we'll explain. قال وحدثني يحيى ابن حبيب الحارثي قال حدثنا خالد وهو ابن الحارث قال حدثنا شعبة عن قتادة قال سمعت أنسا يقول كان أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ينامون ثم يصلون ولا يتوضؤون قال قلت سمعته من أنس قال إي والله. So over here you have Qatada narrating on Anas radiallahu anh, where he said that the companions of the Messenger of Allah used to fall asleep, then they would pray and they would not make wudu. So I said, did you hear this? Did you hear Anas actually say this? قال إي والله. He said, absolutely, I swear by Allah. قال حدثني أحمد بن سعيد بن صخر الدارمي قال حدثنا حبان قال حدثنا حماد عن ثابت عن أنس أنه قال أقيمت الصلاة العشاء فقال رجل لي حاجة. So over here, this is a little bit different take on the story where Anas radiallahu anh, he says that the iqama for Salat al-Isha was called and a man said, li haja. He says I need something from you, Rasulullah. فقام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يناجيه. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he stood up, he went to him and he started talking to him in private حتى نام القوم, until people started falling asleep. أو بعض القوم, or some of them started falling asleep. ثم صلوا, and then all of them prayed. So over here, what's happening in these narrations? Okay, so over here,
Three of them, it seems like the same story.
sure,
And then one is
right. One's a little bit different,
maybe same.
right? It might be, one might be narrating it by meaning, right? Just in general, like what had happened and what had occurred, versus some of them actually stating more precisely what it was that happened.
Oh, they're all from Anas.
Yeah, they're all from Anas radiallahu anhu. Yeah, and I think even only that one, I think the second to last one is from Qatada, right?
But then he said, you heard this from Anas though?
Yes.
سمعته من أنس.
So why did he do that? And we'll talk a little bit about that, what tadlis is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, did you actually hear this from Anas? Yeah. And he's like, I absolutely did.
I don't know.
So here essentially what's happening is that, oh wow, okay. No, this is, as I was going to say, it's a little wobbly. But essentially what's happening here is that the iqama for the prayer is called, and then what happens?
They don't get up and pray immediately.
Right, so they don't get up and pray immediately, but even immediately after the iqama is called, what happens is that somebody says, yeah, Rasulullah, like I need to talk to you about something. So the Prophet ﷺ, in this situation, what could he have done?
Said no, we'll do it after prayer.
He said, hey, listen, we'll talk after prayer. So for him being willing to delay the prayer, what is that? What are the few things that we can understand and learn from that?
If there's a time frame that you can.
So that,
You have like that leeway.
right, there's leeway, right? Especially because we learned from the last hadith, which salah was this? Right, this is Salat al-Isha, right? So maybe if it was like Maghrib, or maybe if it was like Fajr, maybe the time would have been a little bit shorter, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam wouldn't have given the same leeway. And he sallallahu alaight wasallam, he didn't actually have him hurry up, because did they talk for a short period of time, for a long time? If it's short, like immediately start talking, people start falling asleep.
No, this is
Right, so I would imagine it takes a little bit of time before people start getting, people start dozing off and falling asleep. So here he's talking to him, and obviously it's taking some time because people are starting to doze off, which also tells us that in general, when did the companions used to go to sleep? Not late, relatively early, because I can't imagine Isha time being significantly different in the desert than it was 1,400 years ago, right? Climate change? No. Okay, that's right. Is it the earth was flipped at that time? No? All right. It was still Pangea. So in the day, it doesn't really fluctuate. I think what is between like 16 and 14 hours in the summer and the winter in Saudi. I don't like. In the summer and winter it doesn't fluctuate too much because it's like closer to the equator. So the days are like maybe about like 14 to 15 hours, and it doesn't move too much in the summer and the winter. Saying that is if we understand that they were going to sleep relatively early, comparatively. And how do we know that? Because they're starting to fall asleep, right? It's not like, oh, okay, they're used to staying up late, because if they stayed up late, why would they be tired? So, and this, he had no problem delaying it, and he especially had no problem delaying Isha. And this also told us about, in general, there weren't a lot of social activities that happened after Salatul Isha. This is usually when our social activities start, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. Yeah, Allah Mustan. So like this was usually a time that they would go to sleep, and a lot of their work was dependent on the sun. Why is that? How come like they didn't like stay out? How come we're able to stay out and they're not?
How come?
Yeah.
Lights and
Right, it's
like caffeine.
Caffeine might have something to do with, not everybody, like, what I mean. I work off of caffeine. I don't think everybody else does, but I think the lighting is a big
We
thing.
don't pray tahajjud.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Well, I mean, arguably, if they went to sleep very early, getting up for tahajjud wasn't like, that's like the normal time they wake up, which is why Fajr for them wouldn't be that big a deal. But I think artificial lighting has a big role to play in that. When you become very dependent on the sun, like you need light. A lot of their work they would end at night. What is some work that would be done at night during the time of the Prophet ﷺ?
Prostitution.
Other than prostitution?
I'm just saying. That's why they're not awake. That's the only thing.
No, Abu Hurairah actually.
They couldn't do in the sun, like it was too hot.
Okay, but the problem is you don't have lighting. So what do you do? They do, but the thing is here, even if you have a very good lamp, how far is that light going to be cast?
Like a table.
Right, it's just going to be like, it's going to be very immediate, right? And, the distance of the lighting. It's not like they had like 1,000 lumen flashlights, they could like see across the desert with. So Abu Hurairah, very famously, he was a Hatib al-Layl. What he used to do is that he actually used to go out at night and he used to collect firewood, and then he would sell it during the day. And one of the reasons he did it at night, because number one, he didn't want to be away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he wanted to make sure that he utilized the entire daytime, that when he was around him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was an easy way for him not to be involved in regular business and trading, because he would go and collect the wares at night and then he would sell them in the morning, because everybody needed a fire, right? Like you always needed a fire running. Why? You needed a fire like for cooking, you needed it for lighting, right? There are different uses. Protection, to keep away certain animals like venomous animals and snakes and things. So you do have a lot of uses for that. So over here, how is it that Imam Nawawi came away with this conclusion that sitting down doesn't break your wudu from these ahadith?
Because I guess when they did start, the prayer, Prophet didn't say like you have to break your wudu.
Right. So there's definitely sleep that's happening, and there's definitely not an order from the Prophet ﷺ telling them to go. And not just that, there's very clear narrations here that saying that they slept and they got up and they prayed. And the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't say anything to them, and he was present. So they're sleeping is happening. They're not making wudu, and we know sleep to be something that breaks your wudu. So over here, Imam Nawawi, he takes his understanding is like, okay, if I know that you're not allowed to, like if you're sleeping, it breaks your wudu, but in this situation they slept and it didn't, something has to be different. Does that make sense? So he's
Is it because they wasn't laying down?
okay. So that's the conclusion he came to.
Yeah.
Right. The conclusion he came to is that they weren't laying down. How did he come to that conclusion? Okay.
Because they attentions?
Well, it says here that they were sleeping, right? And normally in the masjid, what happens? Like if people are sitting and waiting, it's not uncommon for someone to doze. Right? But who actually lays out?
Right.
Is that normal?
No, that's not.
Huh? See, the women's section's out of control. But like, it's like there's no. I think wudu needs to be happening in the women's section, dude.
Maybe I'm looking at it in a different way. I'm looking at the intentions of them preparing for prayer.
So regardless of the intention, if I pass gas,
Yeah, you got to.
I still have to make wudu, right? So it's not in here. It's not an issue of intention. It's a here of like, okay, well, there are very specific things that break your wudu, and sleeping, we know for sure, is one of those things that breaks your wudu. So over here, Imam Nawawi, he says, okay, well, something here has to be different, and the conclusion he comes to is that, okay, well, they had to be sitting, even though none of these hadiths say specifically that they were what, that they were sitting. The most that we can take away from this is that they were waiting for prayer. And when an individual is waiting for prayer, how are they usually waiting? They're usually sitting, right? They're usually sitting and waiting. Like they'll come to the masjid, they'll pray their 2 rak'ah, they'll sit down, they'll wait. So that's the takeaway that Imam Nawawi he takes from these ahadith, which is why he comes to that particular conclusion. What makes sleeping while sitting different than laying down? Why is that made as an exception?
Maybe you're not reaching the same state of sleep.
Okay. All right. Okay. The depth of sleep can definitely take a part in it.
It's like napping, dozing off versus like,
Okay. So is it yes?
There is a says a method that. So
Yes, there is.
that sleep does.
Yeah.
We're gonna not.
No. I actually was gonna. I was gonna talk about all the different 7 opinions. I think it'll be fun.
Woody, you got to.
No, it's the same book. It's the same book. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Well, the first one he brings, the first.
Yes, he does. وفيه أن نوم الجالس لا ينقض الوضوء وهذه المسألة المقصودة بهذا الباب. Yeah, but inshallah, it'll be interesting. Definitely, the discussions around this. I always enjoy when he brings like 20 different opinions. Oh no, it says 8. So in general, he's taking it, and this is why it's important to always contextualize these things, because what is another understanding I could take away from this?
That sleep doesn't.
Right. Well, not that. Well, from other hadith we have sleep breaks wudu. Yes.
Right.
So over here, I can be like, well, no, if I fall asleep in the masjid, right, like the women. So like if So if I fall asleep in the masjid and I wake up and it's like, hey dude, what are you doing? You fell asleep and you were laying down. He's like, no. The Prophet, like Anas ibn Malik, I know the hadith. I took it in Sheikh Farhan's class. Like where he said that, okay, they fell asleep while waiting for the Prophet ﷺ, and then they joined the prayer. Is that one potential understanding?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But that's why it's always important when we take these ahadith to kind of contextualize and really understand what the situation is, so that we learn to apply it into the larger context of when we deal with these different rulings and when we deal with these situations.
That's what I was
I'm sorry?
I took a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting off work and I dozed off. I made wudu.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make wudu.
Yeah.
I didn't know about.
Sure. So just like so you have something that's called like nu'as, you have sina, right? Like these are like very light types of sleeps. And any type of sleep that is very light, in general, it's not considered that which breaks the wudu versus like a deeper sleep. So over here, what does he say? وَفِيهِ أَنَّ النَّوْمَ الْجَالِسَ لَا يَنْقُضُ الْوُضُوء. So he says, in general, based on the understanding from these ahadith, that sitting down and sleeping does not break your wudu. And he says that, but there is a difference of opinion on what that means and how to understand that. And he brings 8 different opinions. And the first he says, أَنَّ النَّوْمَ لَا يَنْقُضُ الْوُضُوء عَلَى أَيِّ حَالٍ كَانَ. So he says the first opinion is that sleep actually doesn't what? Break your wudu at all. That's the first opinion that he brings. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. I actually want to go back and double check these. I'm very skeptical on some of the attributions here, because he says the Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, the companion, and then he's Sa'id ibn Musayyib, who's like one of the head of the Tabi'een, Abi Majlis, wa Humayd al-A'raj wa Shu'ba. Like these are all like major hadith scholars in and of their own rights. So I'm like really curious to this attribution. He says, secondly, that regardless of this, so the second is the opposite, right? So the first opinion was that sleep doesn't break wudu, and the second opinion is the opposite, meaning any sleep breaks wudu, right? So even if it's a light sleep or whatever, that breaks your wudu. He says that the third opinion, it has nothing to do with whether you're sitting or whether you're standing. It has to do with the amount that you're sleeping. Yeah. So if you sleep a lot, then that breaks your wudu. And there are situations where I remember there's an older gentleman, and I was like, Sheikh, I think you need to remake your wudu. And he was like, no, I was sitting down. He was like, I was just dozing off. I was like, bro, you're snoring. Sometimes it's just heavy breathing. It's like I won't expose which son it is, but one of my sons, I was like, bro, you were sleeping. I heard you snoring. He's like, no, I just breathe heavy. And I was like, you don't normally breathe like that. He was like, no. I recorded him. Yeah, I recorded him and I shared the message with him. He's like, yeah, that's how I breathe. I was like, wow, amazing. Listen, may Allah bless him. This is the same son that we say has iron wudu, like the unbreakable wudu.
That was fun.
Like maybe he takes the first opinion.
He might take the first opinion, like that sleep doesn't break wudu at all. No, but he's saying I'm not sleeping. That's the problem I'm having. Unless he defines sleep differently. So he says the fourth opinion is that if an individual falls asleep in a position of prayer. So if an individual is in ruku', if an individual is in sajda, if an individual is standing or an individual is sitting, then and he falls asleep in those states, then it does not break his wudu. Right. Because the reality is, like, even in those situations, like a person can't sleep for very long. The fifth opinion.
Does it break salah?
It doesn't, because it doesn't break your. If it doesn't break your wudu and you're still in the position, is it here? Let me ask the question another way. If I'm distracted during salah, does that break my salah? No. Right? You can argue that it takes away from the reward, but you can't argue that the prayer is actually broken. A very good example of this, and something One of the conditions of prayer is niyyah, right? I have to have intention. I'm praying Salatul Dhuhr. In the second rak'ah, I don't remember if I'm praying Dhuhr or Asr. Happens. So in that situation, what happens? Like, is my niyyah broken?
You can readjust it if you think about it.
So for the Hanbalis, you're fine, right? Because your niyyah started. It doesn't matter what happens throughout the prayer, because you can have confusion in it, but as long as you started with the right intention, the rest of your prayer is valid. So there are situations where you can be distracted, but that actually doesn't break your prayer. There are other things that can happen in the prayer. So for example, if I'm praying and my daughter is reaching for an electric socket, can I go and pick her up? Depends. So I'm praying, right? So I'm praying and there's an electric socket here, and my baby, she crawls up and she's going to put her finger in the socket.
It doesn't fit.
Huh? It doesn't fit. I know. I'm not worried. Like, you know the trick though? You gotta feed them so like they get plumpy fingers. So it's only scary if they're holding on to something that if they put something in it, then you have a problem. Yeah, the finger's okay. The finger can't fit. I'm sorry. MashaAllah. No, I'm on my 5th, so it's a little bit different. Alhamdulillah. I think I've definitely electrocuted myself a lot more than my kids have electrocuted themselves. It's what happens when you don't want to turn the fuse off and do wiring work. Anyway, so this opinion is that in your prayer would still be valid, right? So even if you have breaks in the prayer or breaks in your continuity, breaks in your thought, none of those things actually break prayer. You can argue, again, that it takes from the reward of the prayer because the person is not staying focused, but you won't argue that the prayer is broken.
So what happens if you remake the prayer? Like,
So the question is, why is the individual remaking the prayer?
Because they may probably forget what part of the salat they probably
Sure. So if I'm missing, or if I forget where I am in prayer, this is something that we had taken before. What am I supposed to do? Do I just break it? What do I do? I have to keep going, and I go with the assumption. So if I'm not sure, if I don't remember if it's like, am I in the 3rd rak'ah or in the 4th rak'ah, which one do I do? Because you know why? Because I know for sure I'm on the 3rd. So I would do 3, and then I would do the 4th, and then if I'm unsure, I would do something called sajda sahw. Right? I would do the prostration of forgetfulness, and I would complete my prayer. Because the problem is that if I keep repeating my prayer, I'm only going to fall into my OCD and my waswasa. And I don't want to listen to the shaitan, because what happens is that usually with such people who keep repeating their prayers or keep repeating their wudu, eventually they just stop praying. Or eventually may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our families. So we have to do the best that we can, that we don't fall into that, while kind of balancing that how much and where I am during the prayer, and kind of learning to kind of develop, build my own confidence in my prayer and what it is that I'm doing. The 6th opinion, أنه لا ينقض إلا نوم الساجد. The 5th? No, I did 5. Oh no, I'm sorry, you're right. 5. أنه لا ينقض إلا نوم الراكع والساجد. So he says that it's not all of the positions of prayer. It's only 2. It's only when a person is in ruku' or in sujood. That's it. Like if a person falls asleep in these 2 positions, then his prayer is still. His prayer. His wudu is still valid, and over here, which positions are not mentioned?
So the standing and the sitting?
Standing and sitting, right? So standing and sitting. The 6th opinion, أنه لا ينقض إلا نوم الساجد. So over here, it's only for the person who's in sajda. And over here has nothing to do with ruku' or standing or sitting. If a person is in sajda, that is the only excusable time for an individual to fall asleep. The 7th opinion, أنه لا ينقض النوم في الصلاة بكل حال. So he says that this only applies if you're in the state of prayer itself. So once I've started my prayer, and if I fall asleep during that, then my prayer would still be valid and my wudu would still be valid. The eighth opinion, إذا نام جالسا ممكنا مقعدته من الأرض لم ينتقض وإلا انتقض. So over here he's saying that if he is sitting and he is not leaning كده إذا نام جالسا ممكنا مقعدته من الأرض لم ينتقض وإلا okay. Oh, if he's sitting on the ground. So if he's sitting on the ground, he's saying that this is the exceptional case that is implied and what is taken from this hadith. Meaning that if an individual is sitting in a position where he's actually able to rest, then that position would not be considered eligible for an individual to fall asleep and not break their wudu. Yeah. So over here, what is he making the exception for? He's saying that, all right, if you're sitting on a couch, if you're resting on a pillow, if you're leaning against a wall, none of those apply. Does that make sense? Yeah, so he's saying if I fall asleep and I'm leaning against the wall, I have to make my wudu again. If I fall asleep and I'm sitting on a couch, I need to make my wudu again. If I'm fall asleep and I'm like on a pillow or something, then I have to make my wudu again. Here he's saying that you basically have to be sitting in a way where you're not resting against something. Does that make sense? Hold on.
So the sitting.
One second.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
so is this the same as like, they say if the thing was taken out from under you,
You tip over, yeah.
same.
Same idea.
This can be in
A resting position.
yeah, like comfortable, like
Yes.
without exhaustion.
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah. No.
Like laying down.
Correct. Like you can't be laying. So that one of the conditions you have to be sitting. Number one, right? So if I'm sitting and I'm not resting against something and I fall asleep like that, this is the only time that. And I think this is Shafi'i's position too, right? Yeah. Well, هذا مذهب الشافعي. So if no one says Shafi'i's position, خلاص يعني.
That's definitely authoritative.
Yeah.
Because that's the hadith what the
This is so. All of these opinions are based off of what? The same hadith.
But then, like, counteracting this, why does number 2 say any sleep breaks wudu if literally in that hadith they were able to...
So they would argue that they would say that they actually didn't fall asleep.
What do you do?
Huh? Remember, what is the purpose of having these different opinions? The purpose of the opinions is like, okay, well, how do I reconcile with all these ahadith? Does that make sense? It's like, okay, well, I have these ahadith that say that sleeping breaks your wudu. Well, how could these people actually fall asleep? And there are no beds for them to sleep on. Does that make sense?
That's so you don't pick and choose a hadith, right? As in,
Yeah.
scholars that debate things over.
So either, because you have a few choices, either I'm going to give preference of one hadith, and I'm going to say, okay, because of the preference that I give this hadith, I'm going to understand the rest of these hadith based off of this one. Because the strongest hadith, what breaks wudu? Breaking wudu, passing gas, using the bathroom, or sleep. In general. I forget bleeding. I don't want to spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
But these in general are the things that are agreed upon to break your wudu. So now I have this hadith in this exceptional case, in this exceptional situation. How do I understand it?
You're gonna pick the one...
I can pick this one and be like, no, okay, well, sleep actually didn't happen here. That's one way. Or the other one is I can be like, okay, no. And no, or I have to do the opposite. I'd be like, no, this actually is indicative of how we should engage with that. And you can always make wudu for anything, right? If I eat, can I go make wudu?
Yeah.
Right? If I drink some Pepsi, I can go make wudu, right? Like I have that choice. So they would say, okay, no. This hadith is actually the one that I'm going to base my rulings off of. Which is why they'll be like, no, sleep actually doesn't what? Break your wudu. No. You had something?
More about, did they pass out or they dozed off?
Yeah, and again, so what is one of the ways that you can help contextualize this is be like, okay, well they actually dozed off, right? I mean, I won't say dozed off might not be.
Strong?
No, I think it might be a little too strong. But like they were dozing off. That's a better way to put it, right? Like they were dozing off, but they actively hadn't engaged or fallen to sleep.
Get tired. You're not really
Yeah.
sleeping.
Well, I've actually fallen asleep, so I don't know. That's kind of dangerous.
He had a Tesla, so I'm just saying, like,
Now, subhanAllah, bro.
you know,
Listen, if it's improved by driving significantly.
you're not driving this.
I no, don't worry, I won't be. The car will.
Inshallah, we get to this.
Inshallah. Listen, I've yeah. Yes.
Before all the explanations, I was thinking about like if you're on a plane and like, oh, you doze off, it's fine. But now hearing all these, I'm like, okay, no, like the interpretation seems like it's like the dozing.
Yes.
Go to sleep, and then you're in a rest position.
Yes.
So initially, I was okay, just do wudu,
Yeah.
Airlines lounge before you go off the plane.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, like you have to do it if you go to sleep.
So the plane example is interesting. I can get more into that. Yes. Tfadal.
There's not gonna be another one that as long as your bottom is covered, then it's fine? Or is that one of these?
That was the last one, right?
No, that's about leaning. Leaning, the last one, I guess.
أو ما قذفوا من الأرض لم ينتقض وضوء سواء كان كثر سواء كان صمت.
Which is you sitting
Yeah.
with your, then it's fine. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I understand. So what's interesting is he adds here وعنده أن النوم ليس حدثا في نفسه. So he's saying that, okay, so this is a very interesting point that Imam Shafi'i brings, that sleeping in and of itself actually doesn't break wudu. What does he say? وَإِنَّمَا هُوَ دَلِيلٌ عَلَى خُرُوجِ الرِّيحِ. He says, but the moment you fall asleep, you actually pass gas. So he's actually linking these two actions together, which is why it can make sense why an individual wouldn't feel that sleep actually breaks wudu. But wallahu alam, I don't know if that's always the case. I'm sorry. Yeah, but I didn't really study flatulation like that.
Only took the first semester.
That's like it's like digestion 101. Like
That's something that even if you sleep, you don't know you're fasting, or
so I mean there's a lot of things that we don't know, right? Like when we're sleeping. Like here, let me put it this way: is it possible to pass gas while you're sleeping? Yeah, 100%. Right? There's no doubt about that. Aren't you a substitute biology teacher?
No, yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't make sense because I thought it was like the passing gas was only if you could smell it or you heard it.
That's-
So if I'm asleep.
That's during salah. Right? During salah. And why is it important during salah? So an individual is sure, right? Because again, it's the issue of waswasa. Because a lot of, how many of us have prayed and like we felt like bowel movements? Like, you know, we felt our stomach gurgle and stuff like that. So the idea is to minimize the doubt that's around those so that people aren't constantly breaking their prayer and going and making wudu and coming back. So what does the Prophet ﷺ say? He says like, no. And when you're praying, don't leave your prayer unless you hear something or smell something. That doesn't mean I'll be like, right? Like I don't hear anything or smell anything. I'd be like, nope, I didn't hear anything. I didn't smell anything. No. He's talking about yaqeen. Like if you are 100% sure, no, that only at that time should you break your prayer. But if you have any doubt, you should what? You should continue. You should continue praying.
But if you're not like in a prayer.
No. Then go make wudu. Go make wudu. Okay, you're more sure then at that point, right? Because
What if you're like running out of time? No.
then go with what you're sure with. That's all, right? The idea is not to fall into the OCD. That's it.
Okay.
Right, because it's very easy for people to become distracted when it comes to issues, like I said, around tahara especially, because the shaitan the place where he tries to distract us the most is in tahara. So when it comes to issues of wudu, when it comes to issues of like breaking wudu, when it comes to issues of like, oh, did water reach everywhere that it was supposed to reach? The shaitan's always constantly in the people's ear, right? And you know, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. It's really it's really a difficult situation for a lot of people who fall into that. And the thing is, like, there were even early there's a few early scholars, I forgot who specifically. Inshallah, I'll try to remember it. I'll bring the example next week. He used to walk around with his own prayer mat because like he didn't trust the floor. So everywhere he went, he used to have this prayer mat with him because he was afraid like everything was like najis or like, you know, everything was impure. So I think this is something that many people suffer from, and you know, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. But it is a real problem. It is a real issue.
So all of these conclusions are based on the fact that the Prophet ﷺ saw him
He didn't know that they were asleep or not. So this is all trying to interpret what
Sure.
he saw.
Yeah. Well, no, this is basically Anas ibn Malik's interpretation of what he observed. So imagine Anas ibn Malik, he's sitting in Masjid Nabawi, right? They have candles around, right? It's not particularly bright, and the iqamah is made. And then a man, he stands up, he's like, Liya haja ya Rasulullah. He's like, I need something from you. So the Prophet, he walks over, he's like, what's up? And they start talking. And all the people, when the people heard the iqamah, they probably what? They probably got up, to get ready for prayer. And then he was talking. So while he was talking, the people probably sat back down again. And while they're sitting, and again, he's the one who's kind of observing things. What does he see? He sees some, like we see when people doze off. Yeah. So he probably saw people kind of dozing off, and he's the one who noted, he's the one who said, is like, okay, well, and then after the Prophet ﷺ was done, he went to the mihrab, Allahu Akbar, right, and he started leading the prayer. What are some signs that people have fallen asleep? Like sleep. Snoring, right? It's a very common one. Or very heavy breathing, unless it's my son, right? Or very heavy breathing, right? These are signs. I'm not saying that it's necessary that people fall asleep. But the Prophet ﷺ easily could have said, he easily could have said what? If any of you fell asleep, then what? Then go make wudu. No, he was talking, and he was talking to whoever this individual was. But again, this observation was by Anas ibn Malik, and he saw people, right? Okay, the Prophet ﷺ, let's assume the Prophet ﷺ wasn't paying attention. Would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have allowed something like that to bypass him, where he didn't comment? That's another layer to this. Yes.
Or the Sahaba would know the ruling.
Yeah.
One of them, maybe
Sure. No, or they would have said, Ya Rasulullah, I saw some of them falling asleep. Or I fell asleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if there was snoring. But that's all an assumption now. We're assuming that happened.
No, but over here, Anas, again, he's observing, and he says in one of the narrations, وَلَمْ يَتَوَضُّ, that they didn't make wudu. So they all knew the ruling.
But what he observed is
Yeah.
that this person maybe
They're dozing, yeah.
not sleeping.
Yeah, he was dozing off. He didn't sleep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that person didn't sleep at all. So we're still under that first hadith that says when you sleep,
Sure.
you do your wudu.
So
It's like all these interpretations, like all these exceptions.
So the question I ask is from being awake to being asleep, are there stages?
Yeah.
Okay, at what stage does wudu become an obligation?
When you lose consciousness?
So that's one argument, right? Okay. But I will say that, okay, if we understand that there's this transition time between being awake and being asleep, over here, what did we learn?
The transitory period is not breaking it.
Right, that there's enough gray area there that the transitory period doesn't have an effect on a person's wudu. Does that help? Yeah, because that's the benefit of this hadith. Because if we didn't have this type of clarification, what would we automatically assume based on the hadith that we have about sleeping?
That
Any sleep would break wudu. Does that help?
So yes, but all the other questions about comfort and standing and sitting.
Yeah.
Does it make sense at all?
Huh? Yeah, 100%.
Like if I slept one time, I'm like, yo, it's okay.
If you want to take that opinion,
I'm going to number one.
you go number one. Sleep doesn't break wudu. But I think the idea behind, why is it that there are so many opinions behind this? Because of the lack of clarity in what exactly happened. Right? And anytime you have a lack of 100% clarity behind something, what do people start doing?
Making opinions.
Right? They start, it's conjecture. Okay, well, in this situation or in that situation, okay, well, this must have been happening. Okay, well, this must have been okay. Okay, well, while the Prophet ﷺ was speaking, maybe some people were still standing. Okay, maybe some people started praying their sunnah. Maybe some people, maybe people started doing different things. And Anas radiallahu anh, he kind of noticed different people not, dozing off. And this is why you have these different opinions here. And Allah knows best.
Should you standardize that, like between like you and your family? Like I can't be like, oh it does, and then one day I'm like, no, you're good. Like I can't really do that. Like for myself personally, yeah, but if I'm like raising a family, I shouldn't.
So the question is, I think maybe a broader question around that issue is, what madhab should we follow at home? Should we follow a madhab at home? I'm being very loose in my use of madhab here, right? My madhab might be, okay, well, whatever my local imam follows, I'm just going to listen to what he has to say to me, right? That's it's a possibility. So the question I have is like, all right, well, how is that imposed in the home? Okay, if I have a husband and wife who are on different madhab, what do we teach the kids?
What the dad says.
What the wife says is always right.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Okay, no, but so what if he has two wives on two different madhabs? They're both right.
No, I'm right.
No, I'm like, so the question is like, all right, well, I think when it comes to a lot of issues, like, yeah, there's no doubt, like the husband is the head of the household, but the question is like, all right, how does that now translate into home life? Right? What does meaningful leadership look like? Like meaningful leadership, I use the term meaningfully very pointedly, is like, can I lead by imposition and fear?
It's not effective.
I can, right? And it is effective for how long? Until something breaks, right? I'm being very honest, right? So imposition and fear, that is one way to lead, but that is only going to last until something breaks, right? And in those family structures, how does that look like? It usually looks like maybe one of the kids running away. It looks like maybe one of the kids not practicing. It may look like all of these kids are like hafadh, and what I mean, like it can manifest in different ways. Like, what is the other way to lead? With respect, right? So like fear is one way of leading, and how do I instill respect? It's hard, right? It's yeah. For example, if I'll use the example of food. Yeah. Right. I think the food example is an excellent one. Right. So if you're okay with eating at Western restaurants, and like, no, I'm only going to eat zabiha restaurants. Like, how do I reconcile that in the home? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
You give your children the choice for doing this.
So
Right?
the thing is, I'm okay with choice, right? Personally, but the question then comes is like, all right. Some might argue like, okay, well, if we take the more restrictive opinion, doesn't that not cover both opinions? No, the more restrictive one. So if I only eat zabiha.
Yeah, how does that cover like?
Because no, I'm saying the one who has a broader spectrum, he'll eat zabiha and non-zabiha. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. She'll argue like, okay, well, if you come to my opinion, it's something we already both agree on.
At the bare minimum,
Yeah. Is that okay? Huh? It's one way of definitely dealing.
Like when you get married, like you have to follow like your husband's.
So the thing is like, I listen. You're never here. Let me put it this way. There's nothing wrong with taking on your husband's opinions, right? Now, that can apply to religious opinions, it can apply to political opinions, it can apply to social opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that. But how many opinions does she now begin to transfer over to him before she starts feeling she's losing her personality completely? Right? And it happens. I think there are, even within the madhab, there might be certain opinions that affect the couple. I think in those situations, it's usually easier for the woman to give in to her husband's opinion. For example, touching a woman, does it break wudu or not? Actually physically touching a woman, does that break wudu or not? So for the Shafi'is, it does. For Hanafi, it doesn't break your wudu. So if the husband is Shafi'i and the woman is Hanafi, and she's constantly bothering him and touching him, And he's making like 20 wudus a day. Right? It's not practical. So what do you do? There has to be some type of reconciliation. There has to be some type of conversation around those things. Now, if one of them takes the easier opinion in this particular issue, does that change their whole madhab? No. Right? I'm sorry? Yeah, well, some schools, man, they're just like they're not going to budge. Like the moment you leave one issue, like you've left the entire school.
I had this come up with
yeah.
my uncle in Georgia. So he caught a deer and he,
Yeah.
and he like cut the neck and made it halal. But
Sure.
then he asked the sheikh at the local masjid like, how are we allowed to hunt like these deer in the West?
Sure.
And he's like, oh, can you shoot a bow, arrow, or like,
Yeah.
like a bullet at it? And the sheikh was like, yeah, you can shoot with a bullet, but you just have to like do the prayer like before you pull the trigger.
Sure.
My very Pakistani uncle was like, yeah, I don't believe that. So like the question is more like, I didn't have this on the conference with my uncle, but it's like, okay, if you do kill the deer with just a bullet or a bow,
Yeah.
and you do what the sheikh says, but my uncle won't eat, does that make the meat like not zabiyah halal to him?
Well, his opinion isn't valid. I don't know anybody who holds that opinion.
Okay.
Right? Like when it comes to domesticated animals, absolutely, 100%. You have to cut the neck.
Yeah.
Right? You have to clear the jugular. You have to cut some madhab say you have to cut the windpipe too. But when it comes to wild animals, I don't know anybody that says you have to cut the neck.
It's just like in South Asian like households, it's like
Yeah.
they make it so strict. They make it seem like you're committing a sin if you don't do it the very strict way. If you don't pray like the full prayer.
Sure. Yeah. But I think those are more individual opinions than they are opinions that are representative of the madhab. But again, I think when it comes to those religious conversations, they have to be conversations. A lot of, like, if it's just like raw imposition, okay, people will put up with it, but they'll only, like, whether it be your wife or, your wife might have more tolerance with it. Your kids aren't going to have that same level of tolerance. Yeah.
Like she brought up, like, if you get married and, like, let's say the girl is very, like, zabiyah halal.
Yeah.
And the guy is, like, okay, like, you need a Western restaurant.
Sure.
But it's, like, a huge cultural thing with the women's side of the marriage. Like, they have to reconcile that, right? Because they're just not fights about
I'm saying, but where does the reconciliation need to happen?
Before marriage.
So, well, not even necessarily before marriage. It needs to happen between the husband and the wife. Because at the end of the day, and I know a lot of people, it's their decision. At the end of the day, a lot of people, they confuse family noise with the husband-wife dynamic. What does family have to do with the husband and wife? Very, very little. Very little, right? So, regardless of what they say, she has to have the confidence, or he has to have the confidence. It's like, no, well, this is the opinion that we take. This is what we follow. Oh, you think it's wrong? Okay. I don't. Right? Like, and I think understanding how to have that confidence in engagement with people who disagree is far more important than whatever opinion it is that we actually take. And the more family sees, like whether it be from the husband side or the wife side, it doesn't matter. As long as they see you guys as a unit standing together, it has very little effect, honestly. Like it can bring some strain or whatever, but at the end of the day, if he's like, yeah, I don't agree with that, right? Like just very honestly, like, no, I disagree. No, I actually think it's right. Or it's like, I don't understand why you're still passive aggressive about this. Like, is there an issue that needs to be, you know what I mean? Like, I think we have to understand how to have meaningful confrontations with people. Like, because if we don't have meaningful confrontations, the noise, it'll start having an effect. Yeah.
So
Everything okay?
it's more of,
Oh, the salah. Yeah, sorry. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, go ahead.
so basically it's more of the husband and wife making their decision because it's in their household.
Yeah, 100%.
Following the guidelines.
Yeah.
And rather than trying to go and get information from other people that don't live inside the home itself, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
if you have kids,
It's
these
all,
are their
yeah,
kids.
the husband and wife.
So unfortunately, you know what I mean, they got to come to some type of agreement on that, whether they see it.
Yeah.
Because people who they get the information from don't know that. So you can't keep running back and forth.
Class. Inshallah, I'll see you guys for the tazkiyah class after salah.
Inshallah.
No, leave it. There's class after salah.
Yeah, I have
الأولين والأولين. سنقرأ إن شاء الله على هذا العنوان عن ابن آل الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى والأستاذ الشيخ يوسف رواية القرآن الإمام ابن آل الشيخ الشافعي إن شاء الله. جزاكم الله. الله أكبر. والثلج والبرد نقل من الذنوب والخطايا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي قد من الله علينا إنه من يتق ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين. قالوا تالله لقد آثرك الله علينا وإن كنا لخاطئين. قال لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. اذهبوا بقميصي هذا فألقوه على وجه أبي يأت بصيرا وأتوني بأهلكم أجمعين. ولما فصلت العير قال أبوهم إني لأجد ريح يوسف لولا أن تفندون. قالوا تالله إنك لفي ضلالك القديم. فلما أن جيء البشير ألقاه على وجهه فارتد بصيرا قال ألم أقل لكم إني أعلم من الله ما لا سمع الله